The Bible, particularly in the Old Testament, contains several warnings and prohibitions against the Israelites participating in the worship practices and festivals of the pagan nations surrounding them. These practices were often associated with idolatry and behaviors that were contrary to the worship of Yahweh, the God of Israel. While the term demonic festivals is not used explicitly, the practices condemned by God were believed to invoke or honor other gods, spirits, or demonic entities, according to the biblical perspective. Here are a few examples of practices and festivals that were detested by God, as described in the Bible. Child sacrifice. Practices such as child sacrifice, which were part of some Canaanite worship rituals, notably to the god Molech, were abhorred by God. Leviticus 18 verse 21 says, "You shall not give any of your children to offer them to Molech, and so profane the name of your God. I am the Lord." Necromancy and sorcery. Deuteronomy 18 verses 10 to 12. Condemns various forms of sorcery and necromancy, which were common in pagan rituals. "There shall not be found among you anyone who burns his son or his daughter as an offering. Anyone who practices divination or tells fortunes or interprets omens, or a sorcerer or a charmer or a medium or a necromancer, or one who inquires of the dead, for whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord." Idolatrous festivals, Exodus 34 verses 14 to 15, warns against participating in the worship of other gods, which would include their festivals. "For you shall worship no other god, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God, lest you make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and when they whore after their gods and sacrifice to their gods, and you are invited, you eat of his sacrifice." Pagan feasts and practices. In 1 Corinthians 10 verses 20 to 21, the New Testament also warns against participating in pagan feasts and practices, as it is considered fellowship with demons. "No, I imply that what pagans sacrifice they offer to demons and not to God. I do not want you to be participants with demons. You cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of demons. You cannot partake of the table of the Lord and the table of demons." These prohibitions were rooted in the desire to keep the Israelites distinct from other nations, both in their worship and in their ethical practices, emphasizing the holiness and uniqueness of their relationship with Yahweh. The broader biblical narrative encourages faithfulness to God and condemns practices associated with idolatry, seen as spiritually harmful and contrary to the worship of the one true God.